veteran Chadian politician and former opposition figure Saleh Kebzabo has been appointed head of an interim administration of national union in what several experts have termed a political strategy in the Central African country. The former journalist of age 75 years ran 4 times for the presidency against the late president of Chad, Idriss Déby, and was killed during, of course, an operation with rebels in the year 2021. The new prime minister comes in place to replace the 55-year-old civilian politician Albert Pahimi Padaki, who resigned after the 18-month transition period was extended in the Central African country. Appointing a long-time rival, is this a political strategy by the 5-star general and interim president of Chad? We shall be uncovering these and many more in the course of today's edition of Voice It. Stay with us. Hello ladies and gentlemen, thank you immensely for joining us once again over 4U Media Africa, where today we are discussing Chad, just to evoke the case that the interim president of the Central African country has finally appointed a new prime minister less than 48 hours after the former prime minister of the Central African country resigned, which led of course to the appointment or extension of the transition period to a period of 24 months. Of course, today I will not be alone on today's edition. I'm joined by Dr. ASONG who is a lawyer with the Rwandan Bar Association and a member of the East African Law Society. It's time I welcome you, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, madam. Good afternoon to all our viewers.
Thank you immensely for always taking our time to join us on Voice It.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Before we proceed to uncovering and discussing today's topic of discussion, I'll first invite you to listen to this report compiled to us by the news desk of 4U Media. Former journalist Kebzabo, 75 years of age, ran 4 times for the presidency against Déby's father, Idriss Déby Itno, who was killed during an operation against rebels in April 2021 and was succeeded by a military government headed by his son, a 38-year-old 5-star general. The transitional council had originally declared it would restore civilian rule after 18 months in power, and Déby had at first promised he would not take part in the future elections. But as the 18-month period neared, the nationwide forum staged by Déby reset the clock, pushing back elections onto October 2024. Last weekend, it approved that new 24-month time frame for holding elections, named Déby transitional president for the interim, and declared he could run for the polls. Déby was sworn in on Monday for a new phase of the transition, vowing to name a government of national union within days. The outgoing premier was a 55-year-old political veteran Albert Pahimi Padaki, who had served for 18 months and had also been prime minister under Déby's father, formally resigned on Tuesday alongside his government. Okay, sir, you have listened to the brief report that was done to us by the news desk of 4U Media. It cited that the recent or new appointed Prime Minister Saleh Kebzabo, of course, he ran for presidency 4 times. And of course, he is a veteran political figure in the Chadian country. Now, we are looking at this new appointment made by the interim president of Chad. What overview can you make of all this?
Well, the view I make of all this is that here in this case scenario, we have a pure violation of the UN Charter. We also have violation for the African Charter of Human Rights. As a matter of fact, we have to bear in mind that at the death of the former president, Idris Deby, sometime in April 2021, according to the Constitution of Chad, in its Article 81, it states that in the situation of a vacancy which is being noticed or evidenced by the Supreme Court of Chad, the vacancy of the presidency will have to be held by the President of the National Assembly. And the President of the National Assembly, if he is not available, the Vice President of the Republic will have to go on. But in this case, they will have to organize elections within 45 to 90 days. That is what is being provided by the Constitution of Chad of 2018. So we clearly see that when Muhammad Idris Deby Itno took over power by organizing a military committee, he was clearly in violation of international laws and also of the Constitution of Chad, which is the main law of the land. And this is the problem we are having in Africa, because we will see that most of our leaders don't respect the rule of law. So they actually hijack power and keep the population hostage through their egoistic mindsets and vision. And that is why we see that the appointment of this Prime Minister, Kebzabo, who has once been, or who is, or has once been, in this case, a political opponent, is actually just a proof that in Africa, people do politics for the stomach. People do politics for their own interest and not for the interest of the population. Because you can't be an opposition leader knowing fully well that the Constitution has been violated blatantly, and you go on to accept a nomination from someone who has blatantly violated the Constitution. First of all, he started violating the Constitution by creating a committee, a transition national council that is going to rule the country for 18 months. Then after, hand over power to the civilians. We are all shocked to realize that after these 18 months, this transitional national council then appoints him as the president. Where are we going to in Africa? Where are we really going to? We just realize here that it's all about interest, it's all about power, it's all about the money, it's all about the position. So this appointment is a really sad situation, to really see that an opposition leader who is supposed to be one who will stand and defend the Constitution, defend the sovereignty of the state according to the UN Charter, which states clearly that sovereignty belongs to the people and that it's exercised by their leaders. He was supposed to protect this. But when he accepts such an appointment from someone, because I would not even like to call him president, because it's illegal. It's illegal, the position in which he has taken, because it's in violation of the Constitution of Chad. So if he accepts this post, then it therefore means that the population will actually suffer a lot, and the population has no hope, because they will keep on being ruled by these military men who have taken hostage the population of Chad. And it's a very, very sad situation. It's a very unfortunate situation. And I really think that this situation has to be denounced. This situation has to be spoken against by the African Union.
Definitely, we'll be coming to that and seeing the role the African Union and, of course, the Economic Community of Central African States, the role they have to play in this political scenario in which Chad finds itself at the moment. But then I would like to ask this question. Given that the recent appointed Prime Minister has gone in for the presidency, the post 4 times, and now he is being appointed the Prime Minister of the country, do you think this is a political strategy coming in from the part of the interim President Idris Deby Itno,
so that he cannot run in again for presidency, given that Idris Deby Itno now has the opportunity to go in for the post of the president?
Actually, it's all political, as you earlier said, because, you know, when you violate the law, you obviously know your opponents and you know that the main tool or the main weapon that they are going to use against you is that very law which you have violated. So what, of course, you would try to do is to try to bring the opposition leaders to your side by buying them in one way or the other, through money, through power, through negotiations, and trying to explain to them that you give them everything they want, and that what might be they were planning to achieve as a leader of the country, with you they are going to achieve them. So it's a strategic move by him to be able to silence the opposition leaders, to be able to bring them to his side. And since this particular opposition leader seemed to have been the most prominent, his strategy was to bring him closer to him so that he will actually gain the support of all his followers. So that is a strategy he is using, and it is very, very tactical, because we can see clearly that he has one goal. The goal he has is to stay in power. The goal he has is to remain there and never to hand this power to civilians. That is the strategy he wants to use. And actually, to achieve that, he must, in one way or the other, seek negotiations and seek agreements with the main opposition leaders, so that if he has a majority support from the opposition, then at that moment, he will be able to get him to achieve his, I can say, evil objectives in disrespect and in violation of the Constitution of Chad of 2018.
You have cited the Constitution of Chad 2018, but then given this recent developments, the elections in the Central African country were pushed to October 2024, which is approximately a 24-month transition period. Now, do you think that this transition time frame is actually going to be respected, given your capacity as a legal expert in the field?
Well, my opinion is that I cannot really tell if it's going to be respected, because first of all, what he said earlier on that he's going to put forth, implement, and respect wasn't respected. He said that the first thing is that he violated the Constitution, because he's not the one to take over power through a military committee. It's the President of the National Assembly. And the President of the National Assembly has organized elections within 45 to 90 days. So he first of all violates the Constitution by hijacking power, by taking over power blatantly. Then, more to that, he says that he's going to organize the elections in 18 months. So he brings forth his own plan to organize election in 18 months. And I don't know where he got that from. So we just realize that people are just using power to their own advantage. Now, he actually says 18 months. Now, we are 18 months and he changes his mind. He does not want to hand the power to the population. He does not want to organize elections.
Which was one of the reasons why the former Prime Minister Padaki actually tabled his resignation, because according to him, he wanted to pave way for the new government which was coming into place.
Exactly as you said. So through the Transition National Council, he is being appointed as the president, and they say he is going to be there for 2 years to rule over as president of the transition. Then after, he's going to organize elections. So what we are clearly seeing here is that we have somebody who does not respect his words, who does not respect the rule of law. So automatically, based on experience, based on the past, and based on the history or the chronology of events, automatically we know that we are not sure that even in 2 years he's going to organize election. So he might probably come up with something else to stay longer in power, bearing in mind that he has nominated and appointed an opposition leader as prime minister. So we can see the clear plan here. We can see the strategy to hold on to power, to keep to power, and to be there forever.
Definitely. You equally said something, but I don't want to speculate. I don't want to speculate in here. We saw the case of the former president, Idris Déby Itno, and he passed. Now his son has taken off power. Can we say that history it's repeating itself when it comes to the system of governance in Chad?
Exactly. That's a very good question, and I've always said in our previous debates that one of the main issues that we have in Africa is poor governance. And I said that governance has to do with several inputs. And one of the main inputs is we have political stability, we have the rule of law, we have lack of violence, we have quality of regulation, we have also the respect of people. So I would like to say that when we look at this case scenario, one of the things that we will bear in mind and realize is that Chad has never had political stability per se, because there has always been conflict between the former president, the former late president Idris Déby, and opposition leaders and also rebel groups. It is worth mentioning that there was a particular opposition party called Union de Force pour la démocratie et pour le développement du Tchad. So in 2016, this particular party then became what we call today FACT. So FACT is Front de la Tenance et de Concorde pour le Tchad. So it's a group that was formed in 2016, and that has been led by Mahdi Mahamat, a military ruler. And this is the very group that was responsible for attacking Chad in 2021, April, from the north, and actually engendered or caused the death of Idris Déby. And what were their motives? Their motives were that there was poor governance, there was no respect for the rule of law. We remember that at one point, the president Idris Déby amended the constitution to suit his personal objectives by increasing the number of terms of office. And it was clear, according to the public opinion in 2021, in April, because in April, usually elections are organized in Chad, that Idris Déby would have won overwhelmingly again with a percentage of over 80%. So it was clear that he would have been there longer, and that is why this rebel group called FACT decided to attack, and they probably achieved one of their objectives, which was to bring him down, even though they did not succeed in overthrowing the government, but they succeeded in killing him. So what we are trying to say here is that when there is no respect for the basic principles of governance, which has to do specifically with the rule of law, then automatically we'll have rebel groups left and right. And their aim, you always hear, or when they always speak, is that there is some sort of violation of laws, there is some sort of violation of human rights, and at the end of the day, you see their reasons seem to be legitimate. And we realize that due to all these circumstances, we have conflicts and conflicts. And this is the same error that Muhammad Idris Déby Itno wants to commit. He is violating the law just as his father did. And he will always know that as long as he violates the law, then he's also giving authority, he's also giving power to others to violate the same law. So how will peace reign?